beauty, loss, hope, loneliness, and compassion. These are all the things I felt while playing this game. Now, what game would that be? Well, it's none other than Ori and the Blind Forest. Released in 2015, it was an instant hit with its charming and beautiful design, tight but fluent controls, and a heartfelt story enough to make you cry. Well, it made me cry at least. So, before we get into my opinions on the game, how about we talk about it a little bit? Ori and the Blind Forest is the first game created by Moon Studios, and man, did they hit it out of the park. Inspired off of Metroidvania-style games and pieces of animation like The Iron Giant, it perfectly gives the feeling of nostalgia and wonder. Moon Studios set development in 2011, and even in early development, you can see the amount of creativity they had. Many of the elements present in the game on release can be seen in these old prototypes. I think the coolest part of the studio is the fact that the entire team is scattered around the world, meaning many different cultural influences and talents went into making this game. Now, it's fair to mention they had their work cut out for them. Metroidvania games are difficult to give their own original feel. It's a style of game that's been around since, Metroid, so there's already many types of these games. If you're confused on what a Metroidvania game is, it's a subgenre of action-adventure platforming game that is mostly two-dimensional, where players travel through a map to collect items and gain new abilities, both of which that open up the world to further exploration. But luckily for Moon Studios, they perfectly made this game original in all the right ways. The story here starts with an absolutely gorgeous cinematic cutscene of a storm, which causes a spirit guardian known as Ori to be separated from the spirit tree. The spirit travels far away, to which a creature known as Naru finds the little spirit. Naru then treats it as her own child and raises it. We get these adorable little montages of them working together and living a life. It really helps in growing the dynamic of these two odd creatures in such a short time, but it's cute nonetheless. As the months pass by, there's a terrible fate that's soon to arise. The spirit tree called out to Ori and a call for help. Unfortunately, Naru takes Ori and shelters her out of fear that it was dangerous. This call for help was to prevent a disaster that takes place in the island of Nibel. Plant life begins to die, and creatures become hostile. Naru tries her best to take care of both Ori and herself, but she sadly passes away from starvation. When I tell you I cried more than watching Up, I mean it. And I haven't even played the game yet! Ori then has to trek out on her own, but unfortunately gives in to her own frailty. Not happy right now. But she luckily was given life again from the spirit tree. Now with her new life, she must venture through the land and restore it to its prosperous life. Ori, along her journey, meets a spirit known as Sen, who kinda acts as Navi from Legend of Zelda. Except this is better than Navi. Less annoying, actually does something, and isn't painful to listen to. Fun fact, Sign was a stand-in name for Ori in early development, which, honestly, I kinda prefer Ori, so I'm glad that they changed it. Sign protects Ori by attacking with their spirit flames, and Ori is a small but nimble creature with incredible platforming and movement abilities which you gain from other smaller spirit trees. A way to look at it is, Ori is a kind-hearted child, while Sign is a bloodthirsty guardian that will murder anyone who tries to hurt this precious little being. I mean, look at her, she's so cute. I mean, look at her swim! Look at her waiting for the door to open. Oh god, she's so adorable. Anyways. This trip is not without its danger, though. There's a large variety of enemies, but the big baddie of them all is known as Koro, a menacing, shadowy owl that hunts you down relentlessly. It's shown through flashback that Koro is the one that caused the chaos to unfold in the land by crushing the spirit tree's core and scattering it far away. So it's up to Ori to restore the elements of water, winds, and warmth in order for this decaying land to be whole again. Okay, so for anyone who has seen my community tab, you would know how much I love this game. I apologize for gushing about it so much. So I have to say, one of the best things about this game is its art design. Like, holy crap. This was a game made by an indie team, and it looks better than most AAA games. All the characters are super cute, especially Ori. In fact, the game is so beautiful, you could take any part of the game and screenshot it and make it into a wallpaper. I literally did that for my wallpaper on my PC. Each one of these are actually just from the game's art. The second one was animated by someone, but the other two are straight from the game, no edits made. And I might be spoiling things, but the second and the third one are from the other Ori game. More on that in another video. But seriously, the amount of color and design that was put into everything is just astounding. Everything is hand-drawn and just works so well. There's not a single moment where it felt like they skipped out on the design. Another one of the best things about this game is its incredible soundtrack. In fact, it was the soundtrack that got me into the game. I had a mod installed on Fallout 4 that replaced the in-game music with Ori's music, and I enjoyed it a lot. Gareth Coker made the music for this game, and I don't say this lightly, he's like the John Williams of the video game soundtrack when it comes to the orchestra. If you didn't know, I adore all things music, and I often study the composition of music. Everything about this soundtrack makes me want to listen to it. Just like its art design, there's not a single song that feels half-baked. In fact, when I play the soundtrack on shuffle, I don't skip a single song. Certain songs will legitimately just cause me to cry from the sheer bliss I get from them. It's the perfect mix of making you feel lost and alone or adventurous and imaginative. Here are a few of the songs I loved so you can get a taste of it. Another favorite factor I have about this game is the fluidity of Ori's movement. She moves like melted butter. Every one of the abilities you gain are so incredible. Bash allows you to use enemies or projectiles as your own platforms to launch yourself in the air or to use as an attack. You can make each ability better by upgrading it using the skill tree. The way you upgrade it is by killing enemies and getting spirit aura and spirit cells, which help you level up those abilities. Some abilities use energy, which you can find more of by collecting energy cells hidden around the map. There's one ability that launches you straight in the air after a short time, a dash that makes platforming and the pace of the game even better, and a spirit blast that can do massive damage and break open walls. I mean, look how insane going through areas can be when you have all the abilities. Lastly, my favorite thing about this game was the story and the journey. I won't spoil the ending just yet. Oh, I should mention I'm going to spoil the ending, so be warned. But anyhow, the story gave me the same feelings I got when I watched Up for the first time. And the ending was a classic trope I'm normally not the biggest fan of, but I thought the way that they went with it was perfect. Every character has so much personality. Even Ori, who doesn't say much, has a defined personality. Gumo is an anxious and scared creature who really just needs someone to be compassionate. Naru is a loving and caring mother figure that will do anything for her child. And Koro... oh, well, we'll get to you in a second. The journey was all super enjoyable, whether it was doing the main quests or exploring every nook and cranny to see everything this beautiful game had to offer. But it wasn't an easy journey. This game is moderately hard. There's some moments where it can just straight kick your butt. But it's all worth it because there wasn't a second I played this and I wasn't blown away by all my favorite things. There is a difficulty called Zero Death Mode in which, yeah, you aren't allowed to die once. I'm going to try it, but I will probably drop dead before I do that successfully. Now, when I say negatives, be informed that these are very minor negatives. These are more so just personal things that bugged me slightly, but none of these changed my opinion or anything about the game. I kinda would have preferred an autosave feature for this game. You create a spirit link to save your game and upgrade your abilities, but there's so many times where I got lost in the beauty of this game and were just platforming in general, and stupidly died and had to go back pretty far because I didn't save. This, like I said, is a very minor thing and is more so my own stupidity. Honestly, having both an autosave and a manual save would have been fine. Like I said before, this game is no walk in the park. Until you get all the abilities, there are moments where this game is really tight. I'm perfectly okay with this. I like a little challenge. But I'm not a huge fan of insta-kill things. Like, obviously a spike pit or something, yeah, that's your fault, you fell into it or messed up your platforming, but there's a couple of times where there's these beams that will insta-kill you, and they are kind of annoying. They're very rare in the game, but are still prevalent. Now, granted, you can always save your game and try over and over to avoid the insta-kill stuff, but there are a couple moments where I couldn't even see them and I died from them. Again, this is a very minor negative. Another negative I have is the combat in the game. It kind of felt like it was there to give sign a purpose other than following you and talking to you. Which, I can appreciate it, but it kind of felt odd that they were building up the character of Ori as a spirit guardian, but she doesn't really have means of defending herself other than a few abilities. I mean, Ori just kind of stands there while Sign does all the damage. But luckily this got fixed, spoilers, in the second game, but again, it's a very minor negative. I know plenty of people like this just fine. Further in the game, you can kinda just straight up ignore most enemies, so eh. The last negative is the most minor of them all. It's the slower sections of the game. There's certain parts where you have to pick up an item and carry it throughout a part of the map. This is 100% based on the fact that the game is often very fast-paced, and my ADHD brain loves that. So when you get to these parts where it's sluggish feeling, it kind of feels off. But each section does have a pretty cool gimmick, so I kinda like them. So after you traverse the land a little while, you find a creature named Gumo. He's a scared little guy that has seen the harmful creatures around him and has formed distrust. But once Ori shows him an act of kindness, he quickly aids her by giving her an item that she needs to access this towering tree. Ori needs to get in order to restore the element of water. After restoring the water to the land, all watery areas become clean for Ori to swim in. You later will see Gumo again once you travel into the Forlorn, which was originally the home of Gumo's species. They were incredible builders that created new technologies, but it becomes really sad to be there because it shows that Gumo's the last of his species. After absorbing Ori's kindness again, he returns the favor and brings Naru back to life with an orb. Ori then opens the way to Sorrow's Peak by restoring the winds at the Forlorn. I forgot to mention, but before this, Ori had a run-in with Koro, in which she had to strike Koro's head with a rock after she was looking for the little spirit. Ori gains one of Koro's feathers that she can use to glide in the air. Once at Sorrow's Peak, Ori finds the item that allows you to enter the domain of the element of warmth. Yeah, it's a little toasty in here. After a terrifying escape session, you restore the element of warmth, and the whole land is engulfed in flames. Koro attacks you for the last time, and Ori is left helpless. Until Naru finds her adopted child once again, giving Koro a moment of pause. A dark creature who loves the light? Now you might be wondering why Koro hates Ori so much. Well, this is the moment where I spoil things, so be prepared. If you want to skip this, then you can skip right here. Koro was a mother owl that had 3 chicks and 1 unhatched one. One night, when she was getting food for her babies, the spirit tree began to call. It called for Ori. Its light ran across the land. It shined so bright that it killed her babies, all except the 1 egg. She was just trying to protect her children. And when she saw the light, she saw it as a threat. And you really can't blame her, but you can't have the dark without the light. Koro, seeing the love Naru has for Ori, causes her to think about her own children. She then quickly realizes that the flames caused by the warmth were destroying the whole land and even reaching towards her last child. In a last desperate sacrifice, she restores the spirit tree, which then restores the land, but at the cost of her life. This ending messed me up hard. And that is Ori and the Blind Forest. This game deserves all the praise it got. Beautiful artwork, amazing soundtrack, good gameplay, and a wonderful but sad story. So if you ever feel like playing this game, I could not request you to play it more. Even when I died over 500 times, it never dampened my enjoyment of this masterpiece. Thanks for listening to me talk about this game. As soon as I get the footage, I will talk about Ori's second game, Ori and the Will of the Wisp. I will stream the game in order to get the footage for it, which will probably be streamed on the weekends. Link to my Twitch in the description. Anyhow, goodbye everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day, friends.